Hi friends, welcome back to VV Sisters channel. I am very glad to meet you all in another video with me. Today's video is all about how to make a stacked book cake, which is a very beautiful cake and all book lovers would love this cake and they go crazy for it when they look at this cake. I did this cake for my friend's daughter birthday and she's a book lover and she went crazy for it really, and it was so good experience. She really liked it, and I also added her picture as an edible print on the top of the book so that it was also eye catchy, and it will also enhance the design. It was like an eye candy adding the edible picture on the top of the cake. Not only the birthday girl, each and every one of the guests, they loved this cake, and some of them they didn't want even to cut the cake. It looks such pretty for them and they really loved it. In this video, I'll be giving a step-by-step directions and instructions what I used for this cake and what are the things I have been using for the whole cake and how to stack the cake perfectly and for the transportation and how it can be transported to the venue and those kind of all the details I will be sharing with you everyone, and you can make this cake and surprise your friends and family. You learn all the recipes for all kind of cakes and how to make a different shaped cakes, a unique cakes, wedding cakes. To learn everything, you just want to do only one thing is to subscribe our channel so that you can get updates on all the cakes I do. For this stack book cake, I have taken a 9-inch length and 6-inch width cake. For that, underneath, I'm making a board also with the same width because we are gonna place all the boards under all the three cakes so that it will be easy for us to stack the cakes. Under the each boards, I'm keeping a circular cake tray. It is just for helping in transporting the cakes here and there to the refrigerator and back to the cake station. That is the only thing, and we might not need the circle board here for now. And I'll be using a 12-inch cake drum under the whole cake. So yeah, I will show that how to add everything and how to stack properly the cake, how to add the doubles under each cake layers and those kind of things. For this, I have taken two cake layers. So as you see, I kept the cake board. On top of that, I added the cream. On top of that, I added the first cake layer and I filled it with the butterscotch buttercream. On top of that, I added the another cake layer, and then overall I covered the cake with the butterscotch buttercream, which is called the crumb coat. I did the crumb coat and let it sit in the refrigerator for 30 minutes to 1 hour. So this is butter basically, so it needs some time to set. Once it is all set, we can add the fondant on top of it. I have already shown the videos on how to make the vanilla cake, how to make the buttercream, and all those recipes are in my channel. If you are new to my channel, please go ahead and check it out, all the recipes. Here I am crumb coating the cake. I have done a crumb coating for the first cake. This is my second cake and I'll be doing the third cake. So total of three cakes we'll be needing for this stacked tiered cake. Once I'm done crumb coating, I'm gonna refrigerate the cake for at least 30 minutes to 1 hour so that it will be set for us. Add the fondant to that. When it is set well, it will be easy for the fondant to be applied on smoothly. If it is not set, it will go like a squishy and it's very hard to add on the fondant and it's hard to trim the edges and do the decorations on the non-firm cake. So it is better to make the buttercream firm and then work on that. So here I'm using the fondant rolling mat and this is the rolling pin. Both are silicone mat and silicone rolling pin, so it will be easier for the fondant to not stick to the pin. Basically, if it is sticking more, and you can add the cornstarch or the icing sugar as needed. I'm adding the cornstarch over here to roll the fondant. I'm planning to roll the fondant very thin so it will be good on the cake while you are cutting the cake and serving it. It will be having a thin layer of fondant. Some people likes the fondant's taste and some don't. People think for adding the fondant is the hardest part. in cake making, but it is not so. Only the rolling the fondant is the hardest part, but once you are done, it will be easy and smooth way to go finish your cake. So here I am cutting only the needed thing. So it is like 9 by 6 inch. I'm measuring that and I'm cutting the edges. So I'll be adding only on the sides, only one side. So other three sides I'll be leaving it plain and I'll be adding the white fondant since it should appear like pages of a real book. As I am adding to the cake, I'm just trimming the sides and edges. And also I'm smoothing on the top. As you see, it turned out really good. I'm just trimming the edges now. And I'll be using the white. Once I'm done with my purple book, I'm gonna work on the pink book. So for even for this, it's the same procedure. I'm just rolling the pink fondant here, adding some cornstarch and making it smooth. I'm trying to keep it on one side and I'm rolling it as thin as possible. Whenever you're using the fondant, so make sure you're getting a new one. If it is a old one, then you will be having some elephant skin on the fondant. It is nothing but drying of the fondant, which leaves a cracks kind of openings kind of thing on the fondant once you get after applying on the cake. So to avoid that, it's always better idea to get a new fondant or make a new fondant at home, which is much easier than that. Even if you get a elephant skin on the fondant, don't worry, it's very simple to fix it. Just add a little bit of shortening on the top of the fondant and smooth it out so the elephant skin goes away and it looks fresh and nice. Now I'm adding the white fondant on the sides as a book pages. For that I'm rolling the white fondant in a lengthier way, and for the width I'm having only 3-inch height. So I'm keep making sure the white fondant is cut in the lengthwise so that it will be easy to cover the whole cake at a stretch. So I'm just measuring the length and width of the cake and I'm just trying to fix it along with the fondant also. So in this way, if you measure and do these kind of square or rectangle cakes, it will be easier for working with that. Otherwise, it will be a little messy. So it's always better to measure whatever we do and work on that. As you see here, so it worked out exactly. Here are quick tips on how to use a fondant. Whenever you use the fondant, or when you remove it from the package, it's make sure that you are working on it immediately and not letting it sit for a long time in outside. Use a saran wrap or a Ziploc bag to cover it. Don't let it sit outside for a long time or it becomes dried out and you get a elephant skin fondant. Here I am working on the pink book sides of the books with the white fondant. After adding the white fondant on the sides, I'm trying to trim and set along with the edges and make it look pretty like the book. And also I'm making the smaller books with the same colors matching with the larger cake books. So for the smaller books, I'm making a pink, blue and purple color mini books. For that I have taken a white fondant and made a small rectangle shape out of that, and if you want you can cut the edges and make it look perfect. I have added the color fondant on the base, then on top of it I added some edible glue, and on top of that I'm adding the white fondant in this rectangle shape, and I'm covering with the same color fondant on top of that rectangle shape, so it looks like a book, and I'm cutting the edges and trimming it to make it look like a book. In the same way I am also doing the larger book with the blue fondant. This will be my base cake. I have taken a 12-inch cake drum because of the length of my cake, which is a 9-inch cake. Cake drum is nothing but a thick sturdy cake baseboard used to support the display cakes, especially heavy or multi-tiered cakes. For regular cakes we can use the regular cake board. For the heavy cake or for the tiered cake, I always make sure to use the cake drums because it is thicker than the cake boards and it will be easy to for the cakes to be carrying and it won't flip or fall with these cake drums. So it is made up of basically compressed cardboard foil, silver or gold color. You can get in both the colors. For this cake, I try to go with the silver color board because it will be looking more prettier. So it provides a stronger support for the large cakes and transport and display also. It will be like looking very professional and giving a very polished look. That's why I use this cake drum. Especially for transport, this is really good. I'm using edible glue for these fondant books Edible glues helps to attach the fondant to the fondant and also fondant to the buttercream base. Either way, it is very helpful. Now let's see how to make the edible glue. For that, we need a quarter cup of water in a microwavable bowl. Heat it for 20 to 30 seconds. That's it. Now add a small ball size white fondant into it and leave it for like couple of minutes until it cool down. This is your edible glue. Now our edible glue is ready. So we can use the edible glue on fondant or any buttercream cakes or for edible prints. It is very useful for all of your cake needs. Make sure you are refrigerating your cakes in between your work so that it will stay hard and it will be easy for you to keep working on that. Since we made the cakes with real butter, it happens to turn soft and mushy. So if you refrigerate, it will keep and hold its shape in place so that it will be easy to work. Now I am using my veining tool in order to get the pages effects here on the sides so that it looks like real book pages on the sides and edges. I'm giving a little bend here. And you can do it in this way. If you don't have the veining tool, you can use a toothpick, but don't make sure you're not pushing it too hard. Like a thin lining is enough, or you can use a blunt knife or something like that. It will be helpful. I'm trying to make a fondant doll sitting on a book and reading a book. So this is the idea. For that, I taken the pink fondant and adding the pink fondant to the fondant dress mold. So I'm making two dresses and attaching each other, and I'm trying to make the body of doll. And I'm adding hands and feet and neck with like a skin color fondant. I added a light peach color to the white fondant and it turned skin color. So to that I'm adding some black eyes and a nose, mouth with a pink color too. And I couldn't attach the legs. I'm thinking to attach the legs once I added the fondant on the cake board. So it will be easy to hold the leg. So now I'm adding the hairs. In that for the hairs, I'm making curly hairs. Since my friend's daughter is having a curly hair, my friend requested that can I make a curly hair in particular. So I'm adding one by one strands of curly hair on the head. See, it's very simple. Just roll a thin fondant on the mat and then cut it small sizes, whatever sizes you wanted, and just twist it here and there and just add on the head. I'm using the edible glue to attach the hairs on the head. As you see here, I'm also using the polystyrene foam, which is also known as thermocol, to hold the doll. I also collected some of the favorite books of the girl so that I am adding the names of her favorite books on my cake so that she will be happy to see the same book names on the cake. So here is the main part in our stacking the cake. I'm adding the doubles to the cake. Here I'm adding 4 doubles since it is a rectangle cake on all 4 corners. I'm adding 4 doubles. I'm using a bubble straw here. You can also use a wooden double. Whichever is convenient for you, you can use it. For the smaller ones, I always use a bubble towel, but altogether in the middle, I will be using a big wooden towel also in order to keep the cake in place while traveling and not to move. These 4 towels help me in even weight distribution, keeps the layers stable during transport. Central dowel rod is sometimes a long dowel is inserted through all the tiers to hold them together firmly. These small 4 dowels give us support for stacked cake, prevents the upper tiers from sinking into the lower ones. Dowels are mostly important for stacking tier. Dowels also help in preventing sliding, especially helpful when using soft buttercream or heavy decorations. As you see, I am also adding the buttercream in between the tiers so that it will hold the cakes. Since we added a cake board under each cake, it is very easy for me to take the cake and add it to the each layers. In case of tiered cakes, you have to make sure you are adding cake boards underneath each tier. So without the cake boards, your cakes may sink. So it's not a good idea to avoid the cake boards. It's better to add the cake boards and keep your cakes in place. So now I added the smaller books on the cake board using a small toothpick to hold its shape. For each and every fondant which is holding or standing vertically, please make sure to add the toothpick so that it will hold the shape without moving and it will be making it to stay in place. As I said earlier, I'm adding the center dowel and tapping a little bit so that it goes deep into the cake board so that it won't move. It will help the cake to not move away from the cake board. Now I'm cutting the edible print. I'll be adding this edible print on a white fondant in order to not crinkle. If you add the photo print, edible print directly on the cake or fondant, it may try to shrink, so it's not a good idea to do that. And I just added the on a white fondant, then I add the white fondant on the top of the book so that in this way it didn't crinkle. As you see, I also added the happy birthday cutout using the fondant. For that I use the fondant cutters. For the names, you have different styles of fondant cutters. I use this style so that I replicate the book actually. That's why I'm using this style of writing. So now I have done with everything. I'm adding the fondant doll to the cake board also. I added the legs to it. Now everything looks good for me. I feel like I need to add the name of the girl on the cake board, and I'm adding the name on the cake board now. So after finishing this, we are almost done with the cake, and I'll be adding the ribbon around the cake board so it will look pretty when we assemble the cake at the venue. I'll be using the golden cake stand, so in order to match with that, I'll be using the golden cake ribbon around the cake board. I'm using a little bit of glue with the glue gun, and I'm attaching the ribbon to it. In this way, we can have a neat and finished look on the cake board. Ta-da! Here is our final stacked book cake. Look is ready. So this is our final cake. We have finished it, and I am packing it in a 12 by 12 by 12 inch cake box, which is 12-inch length, 12-inch width, and 12-inch breadth, which is a sturdy cake box, which is very good for heavy weights. I have also attached the cake cutting video. So since we added the cake board underneath each cake, see it is very easy and simple to cut the cake at the venue. So if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe to VV Sisters channel, and also please share it with your friends who loves to make cakes. Thank you for watching my videos and keep supporting. See you all in next video. Happy baking. Bye.